think we're recording. Yeah, we're recording. Okay, good. All right, well, welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are learning with me today. This is Google Tricks, tips, tricks, and hacks for beginners. So let's get started. Real quickly, my name is Kelly New. I am a third grade math and science teacher at Rennell Elementary, and I just completed my 13th year in the classroom. One of the things that I love about teaching is that I'm a blended learning classroom teacher, which means if you're not familiar with blended learning, it means that my students are constantly moving around the room. They go to various studios, is what we call them, instead of stations. They go to small group every day. They have a digital content element. They do independent work or partner work, and then they do something with future ready. So really building those future ready skills. Everything is very hands-on. It's very multifaceted. So if we're learning about fractions and we're learning about comparing fractions, every single studio is geared towards comparing fractions. And so they get a lot of hands-on help with that, and all their small groups are tailored to their needs. So that's what I love. I love teaching in that model. If you're new to that and you have questions about it, you can ask me. I'm an open book. I'll tell you, what's hard, what's easy. But if you haven't done it, I highly suggest you check out blended learning. If you are a blended learning teacher, then you probably know some of those ups and downs, and you probably do enjoy it because it's a fun way to teach. But one of the things that I do love that the blended learning model allows for my students is to create content and to create things based off of their likes, what they're interested in, but geared towards what we're learning. And so that's one of the things that I really love, is helping my students to create work products that show their understanding and are more on their level. So it's really fun to see them put together a slide presentation or a Google drawing to show their understanding of a concept. So that's one of the things that I like to incorporate in my classroom. And so I teach them some of these little tricks too, to make their life a little bit easier when they're creating content. Okay, so our objectives today, we're going to focus a lot on how to organize your workspace. We had to juggle both an in-class students and the virtual students. I called them my roomies and my zoomies, and that made it sometimes very difficult to stay organized, especially with my digital workspace. And so I'm going to show you some things that work for me that hopefully might work for you. We're going to talk about how we can be more productive with our digital workspace. We're going to learn some teacher hacks that I think everybody kind of needs to know as a teacher. And then how to make appealing products, how to make them pretty, how to make them kind of more towards your brand, your style, and keeping in with that brand. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. And I hope that you're able to walk away with some little aha moments or some things that you're like, oh, that's going to be super helpful for the next year. Even though we're not doing Connect next year, we are still working with Schoology. So being organized and learning these ways of being productive is really going to be helpful going forward, because we are living in a very digital age, and all of our students, now that they're one-to-one, they need these skills too. And so I think that if we foster those skills and we are able to model them, then our students are going to rise up to that challenge, and they're going to model those same expectations. So I'm excited to share some of these things with you guys. So getting started. Before we get started, I want you to think about some of the Google products that you have created and edited in the past. Maybe you didn't create it, but maybe you got that resource from the district and then you had to tailor it to your needs. What was difficult to when you were creating or when you were editing that sample? What sort of things were you like, man, I have this vision and I really want to put it on the paper, but I just can't seem to get it right. So think of those things. And hopefully by the end, you'll walk away with some skills that you're like, okay, now I can go back into that document. I can try some of those techniques, and hopefully it will be, you'll be able to get it to the way that you really envisioned it to be. And I think that's one of the ways that I started kind of playing around with things is I had something in my mind and I just either couldn't find it or I tried to figure out how to make it work that way. And so just a lot of trial and error. But then once I started learning some of these skills, I was like, oh, that makes it so much easier. It makes it so much more enjoyable to sit and try to edit or to create something for my students. Okay, so we're gonna talk about getting organized. We're gonna organize our virtual workspace. Your computer is your virtual workspace. And so we wanna make it be more productive for you, but we also want it to look nice. I know that I'm so guilty of having like a million tabs across the top. I mean, when I say a million, they're like super tiny because I have so many open. And I use all of them and I'm like, but I can't get rid of it because I want that in a minute and I want that one in a minute. So I'm gonna show you some ways that you can have all those millions of tabs open and you don't have to have that FOMO of, oh, I might need it again. It'll be, accessible, but it will look neat. I think that's one of the things that a lot of my coworkers will say when we're working on things. They're like, how do you see what is up there? There's so many things. And I'm like, aha, but I got away. I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you some of those things. We're going to learn how to pin some tabs. If you don't know how to do that, it's a lifesaver. We're going to talk about my daily folder. And I'm going to show you what I have in my daily folder and why it's super helpful and to stay organized. We're going to talk about grouping tabs. Emojipedia is a really great website if you haven't used it. I use it for organizing in my Google Drive. Starring folders, color coding, and we're going to talk about the one tab extension. I do have the Emojipedia and the one tab extension on this page in our Google Slides. So you don't have to think, oh, I need to get that right now. It's going to be there for you to click on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit out of present mode just because I want to show you some of these things. So let's start with pinning tabs. When you pin a tab in your workspace, so you see all of these up here, this is tame compared to what it can be. When you have all these tabs open, and if you're like me, you start to click on things and then you accidentally might click it out and you're like, oh no, I really needed that. Like I was in the middle of working on that. Well, to pin a tab kind of takes away the fear of accidentally deleting it, closing it out, that kind of business. And it's super easy. So when you pin a tab, you're just going to go to the tab that you want. You can right click it and then you're going to click pin and it shifts it all the way over to the side and it keeps it there. So now when I go to this, I can't delete it. I can't close it out because it's pinned. It's literally stuck there. You can pin as many tabs as you want. So if I wanted to pin my drive, it's there. I can't exit out of it. I can go to it, but I can't exit out of it. So that's pinning a tab. It's just a right click and then pin. And then if you want to unpin it, you can just click unpin and it snaps it back and gives you that option to close it. So super helpful. So these are the things that, like, if I know I'm going to use it all day long and I want it in a certain spot, for me, I'm very visual. So if I know it's the third pinned tab, I can easily go and click on it. So I always have like my parent emails pulled up and pinned. I have my welcome work pulled up, it's pinned, or Schoology, those types of things that I know I'm going to have to go to all day. I will kind of line them up, and I'm a little OCD in the fact that I will put them in the same order so that I know, oh, parents, they're the first tab. Okay, welcome work, that's the second tab, or whatever. So pinning tabs is a lifesaver. It really does help stay organized. And if you're like me and you like routine, you'll get into a routine of putting it in a certain order. Just makes life a little bit easier. Let's talk about grouping tabs. So this is kind of like pinning tabs, but grouping tabs is when you are grouping tabs that are very similar together and you want to combine them, sort of. So for instance, I have up here, I've got a Zoom lunch and I have like my Zoom meetings here. And then right here is my reoccurring Zoom links. This is what document that my whole team shared over the year. So if one of us was absent and we needed to quickly send students to a different class, we could quickly grab that link, send it to them and say, go see Miss Smith. It just made it super easy. We also have our split list on there. So if we needed to split classes very quickly, we knew which Zoom kids we were supposed to have, which in-person kids we were supposed to have. It just had all that good information in one spot. So these three things are all what I would call my Zoom links. And so to group them together and condense them a little bit, you can right click on any of them and you're going to go to add tab to new group. So it's a right click and it's add tab to new group. And you just click on that. And what I love is you can name it. So I would name it Zoom, and then you can color code it. Zoom, their logo is blue, kind of like this color. So I'm going to make it blue because visually that's going to help me to remember those are my Zoom tabs, even though it says Zoom here. So once I do that, you can just click out of it and it's in there. So when I close it, look, it hides it. But then I've got these two here. Okay, so I can add these in really quickly. I can right click them and then I'm just going to add it to the group. And notice how this kind of drops down and it's going to show all the groups that I have created. I only have the Zoom one created. So I'm just going to click on Zoom and I'm going to do that to the third one. So add it to a group and click on Zoom. And so now you'll notice that it's very faint, but down here it's blue. There's like a blue tiny thin line underneath all three of these. And that really tells me that they're grouped together. And so when I click on this Zoom right here, watch, they will all kind of suck together and they hide. And so if I need to go back to any of those Zoom tabs, I can just click on the Zoom tab and it will expand it again. So it's kind of like that accordion file folder. You know, you put those things in, you just kind of squish it together. It's nice and compact, but then, oh, I need that file. So you can spread it out again and you can definitely find it again. So this is grouping tabs. One of my favorite little hacks to do. You can move this around if you want to move it. If you want to move it over here, you can move it over there. Anything in that ribbon, you can kind of slide back and forth. But that is grouping those tabs. Okay.
Yeah. Kelly, can I have a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Can we also group our YouTube videos? Sometime like in science, we have so many videos, up in different tabs. So can we also group those videos?
Yep. You can group whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you say you need to pull something completely out of that, like if any of these, like let's say I needed to make a whole new Google or Chrome window with just that item, I can pull it out and make a new window. So if I wanted this one, I just need to make it into a new window. I can literally pull it. I just click on it and pull it and just drag it and it comes out into a new window. Super, super easy. You can even put it back in. You can move it. Well, here, it's not gonna let me probably. Let's see. It might not let me now. It's not gonna let me now. But you can pull it out. So that's super helpful too if you need to I need to make a whole new window with just this, you can pull anything out. Whether it's grouped, not grouped, it just makes it super easy to do that. That's a cool trick I've taught my students and they're like, whoa, I needed a whole new window. That's a really easy way to do it. Like, yep, it's better than going down and right clicking and hitting new window. You just make a whole new window by clicking on whatever tab you want and literally dragging it out and it just pops up into a new window. All right, any other questions about pinning tabs or grouping tabs? All right, okay. Let's go to, I'm gonna go to my daily folder. So my daily folder is a folder that I created that literally housed all the things that I knew I was gonna need every single morning when I turned on my computer. And so I have created it up here. I just named it daily. This is how, the way you do this is in your bookmarks, bar management kind of thing. So if I'm up here, let's say let me just show you what's in my daily folder and then I'll show you how to do it. So in my daily folder, I just click on this and these are all the links that I would need on a daily basis. So as soon as I got into the classroom, turned on my computer, click on my daily folder, and I just opened up all these things. We have our car rider slides, our bus rider slides, my Google Drive, always need that. I have welcome work slides. This is what my students, they come in, they have a question or they have a math riddle or something like that that they work on, has the directions for the day. That's all there. So they don't have to come up and ask me a million questions. It's all there. So I have that. Car rider and bus rider numbers. Kids sometimes forget their numbers. And then I have some things for Schoology. Like this is my live document for my Schoology classes. So if I needed to quickly be out and I needed to tell them real fast, my Zoomies, real fast, hey, I need you to go to this teacher, this teacher, this teacher. I could literally make like a little sign, drag it over on top of those and just say, okay, I need Kelsey to go to Miss Smith and I need Jessica to go to Miss Dobbs. And I could literally just kind of put that there with those links. And so they knew as soon as they went to Schoology, oh, Miss New's not here today. I need to go find, that other teacher. So I had those up ready to go. Again, my recurring Zoom link and then my seating chart. We all had to have those seating charts that were updated daily. And so I made sure that I had that available for me. Of course, next year, I'm not going to need some of these things. And so I'll be able to get rid of that recurring Zoom and my seating chart. But these are just the things that I felt like I needed to be able to access very quickly. If you had like a master document folder in your Google Drive, and that was for that year, just had all your master documents, you might want to pin that there. That way you have easy access to it. But that's just why I did a daily folder. I just wanted it to be super easy and organized to be able to go in the morning and quickly open up the things that I needed. It just saves so much time. I even gave that job to a student sometimes. I'd say, hey, I need you to go open up all my daily folders. And they're like, okay. And they would come over here and click on daily and they would just start popping them open. And that was a really helpful thing too. And it gave my students, something to kind of feel like they were helping and that they were kind of, I don't know, like they had responsibility. So, give them something to do, teach some of them how to open up daily folders. I also made a creative folder. These are all just the kind of things that I use when I'm creating things. So just by making like a folder in your bookmarks bar can be super, super helpful. And it's super easy the way you do that. You just come up to, this is your bookmarks bar up here. So anytime you find a website or something that you want to save, you usually hit this star, and then it will ask you, add to bookmarks, add to reading list. And so if you're adding it to your bookmarks bar, it's coming down here along the bottom. And so to create those folders, you just right click somewhere on there and you would add a folder. So right here, add a page, add a folder, and you would just add a folder. You could name it anything you wanted to name it. And then from there, you can drop things into it. Super easy. When you're starting to save things, it'll ask you on your bookmarks bar, where do you want to save it? Do you want to save it in your daily folder, your creative, wherever you want, whatever you've named it, it's going to be, you'll be able to pick where you want to save it. So again, super, super helpful. It's just a right click and add folder, and then you have the options to create a new one or to add to an existing folder that you already have. Any questions about a daily folder, how to set that up? Okay, cool. All right, let's do Emojipedia. So I said Emojipedia was a really cool website. I have that in my creative folder. It's emojipedia.org. And it allows you to search any emoji. So if you wanted to search dog, you just type in dog, and then it gives you some options. Okay, so I just want a regular dog. And then you just come down here and you just copy this little icon by clicking copy. And now you're probably thinking, why do I need to know this? Maybe you're not cutesy, maybe you don't like this kind of thing. When you use Emojipedia and you are adding an emoji to say the title of something in Google Chrome, it does this magical thing where it puts it kind of at the top of your Google Drive. So let me show you what that means. I'm going to go ahead and copy this dog, and I'm going to come over to my Google Drive. So I've got lots of things in my Google Drive. This is my normal drive. And down here, I have a file called Abby. Abby is my dog. So I'm going to show you what happens when I add an emoji to the file Abby. It's going to pop it actually right up. Let me click over here. It's going to pop it up here by this one. See how this one is up at the top? It has a little emoji by it. It's my master documents. I literally wanted that to be the first thing I saw this year when I went to my Google Drive. So if I go to my Abby file and I right click it, I can rename it. And once I click on rename, I'm just going to add a dog to it. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm just going to paste it. You can use the command Control V to paste, or you can right click it. If you want to right click and just hit paste, you can do it that way too. So I've added a dog to the title Abby, and I'm going to click OK. Now watch it jump from where it is now. It's going to jump up to the top. And there it is. So I've created this so that as soon as I go to my Google Drive, it's right there at the top. I can easily find it. This would be really helpful, like I said, for those master documents or those documents that you just, you really need to access them quickly. You want them at the top. Makes it super easy to find, even if it's in a folder inside your Google Drive. You can do this and it will bring it up to the top so that, if I'm inside my master documents, but I need, like, let's say the parent email list, I want that at the top. I might put a little emoji on it so it brings it up to the top. So I'm not going to scroll and look for it, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I forget how I name things. Like I might think, oh, I probably named it Parent Emails 2021, but in reality, I may have named it something else. I may have named it like Parent Contacts or Contacts. So this just kind of helps for those things that you need to be able to find quickly to kind of put them up at the top. Okay, so I have a question. It says, what if you have multiple emojis? Do they list alphabetical as the name of the emoji? That's a good question. I have not tried multiple emojis, so I'm not really sure. That's something that you might have to see. Let's try it. Let's try it with this. We're going to rename this one. I have a light bulb there, but I already have the dog on my clipboard. So let's do that and let's see if it bounces it up. No, it just stayed in the same place. So I don't think it necessarily goes with the name of the emoji, like alphabetically. This does start with an A, so Abby, so it would naturally jump up to the top. You also have numbers. Numbers kind of always stand up at the top. But no, it's not going to go with the emoji name. That's a good question. I had not even thought about that. I'm going to take off the dog. Good question. Any other questions about adding emojis to any of your documents? Okay, I add this even to Google Slides. So you'll see that right here, this is the slide we're looking at right now. I have a light bulb there because I have a whole folder of presentation slides. And so, some of them I don't use anymore. I don't really need to have them up at the top. They're old presentations. So my newer ones, I'm going to put a little emoji on there to kind of boost them up in that folder so I can see them a little bit faster. Okay, we're going to talk about now starring folders and color coding them. So you'll notice that some of these folders right here have a star by them. Abby does not have a star by it. When you come over here to your starred section right here, you click on starred. These are all of the folders that I have starred because I have deemed them very important to me. These are things that I go to all the time. Typically, when I'm going to my Google Drive, I'm going to my starred Google Drive These are just the folders that I think that I need to access all the time. I need to find them super easily, even if they are, you know, labeled with something like zoo. That's a Z. It'd be way down at the bottom of the list, but I still want it up at the top. So that's why I star things. So I'm going to go back into this drive, my regular drive. And to star a folder, you just do the same thing. You're going to right click it, and then you're going to add it to starred. And then it just puts a little star by it. So when you go over to your starred, it's going to be right there at the top instead of way down at the bottom where the regular drive is. So that's just another really great way to stay organized. You can color code things. So by right clicking, you can change the color. So if you want all of your language arts things to be green, you can color code it green. If you want all of your parent contact information, or maybe you do like student observations and things like that, you might want those a certain color. You can color code those that way. If you are trying to clean up your Google Drive from all the Schoology stuff that your students did, every time they access something and every time they turn something in, it went to your drive. So what you can do is you can create a folder and you can dump all those things in there. And then maybe you want to color code it red. Like, that's something I don't maybe want to go back to. Okay, so I might want to put them in there. You may not want to star that. You may want to star that. If for some reason next year you start putting everything in a like Schoology folder for your students, and your students like, I can't find this that I'm working on. I can't find that CAMI assignment. You can then maybe go in and see if they've accessed it or not, because that's another thing is they may say, I don't have it. I don't know where it is. And you go back and you say, but you accessed it. You spent 30 seconds on it. So you do have it. And so it just kind of keeps them accountable, but it also allows you to find their information, their work, even if for some reason Schoology is not working correctly. Okay, we have a question. Is it moved to start or does it stay in both? It stays in both. So once you star your folder, it will stay both in your regular drive, but it'll also be in that starred. So if I go into this regular drive here, so see it's starred up at the top, but like this one, this 2018, 2019, I've got a folder of that. It's not important anymore. So I don't have it starred. So it's just in my regular drive. It won't show up in the starred drive, but these that do have the star, they're going to show up in both. That's a good question. Okay, any other questions about that? Starring folders, color coding, putting all that Schoology stuff away. Okay, all right, so I'm going to show you another cool hack with all of these tabs. It's very messy. We need to fix it. It doesn't look nice. It's stressful to look at all these tabs. There is a really cool extension to Google Chrome, and I've given you access to that in a link, and it's called One Tab. Pretty simple, One Tab. It means that it's going to take everything that's in the top and it's going to compile it into one tab for you. So it literally takes everything and condenses it so that you don't have to see all those tabs. And it literally looks like a funnel. So up here, these are all of your extensions. You may not have as many as I do. If you have a lot more, this puzzle piece here opens up all the extensions that you have. So I have quite a few. But an extension is just something that gets added to your Google Chrome, and you can access it by touching any of these buttons up here. You kind of learn their little logos, and it will do its function for you as soon as you click it. So I'm going to click on this funnel. This is the One Tab funnel, and it's going to take all these tabs and it's going to condense it together. So here we go. Click it, and there they go. Now these two are pinned, so it's not gonna condense those, but it did condense all the other ones that were not pinned. And so now they're all here. If I wanted to access one of them at a time, I can just click on the one that I want and it'll pop it back out. Or if I said, nope, I didn't mean to do that, I can restore them all. So if you restore them all, it just pops them back up at the top, and expands them. So super easy way to declutter your workspace, make it, not as, it just makes it not as stressful to look at, but it also condenses what you're working on so that you're not necessarily using as much of your, Chrome power, so to speak. It just it condenses it all. So not all the things are working at the same time. Does that make sense? I know that sometimes when I have a ton of tabs open, I'm like, why is this so slow? Oh, because it's working in overdrive. It needs to condense some things. So I'll click on that one tab and it just kind of condenses them, and it makes my speed go up a little bit because they're condensed. Yes, okay, I can repeat that. So, excuse me. So that OneDrive or one tab extension. So you just click on this one tab extension, and it literally takes all your tabs at the top and it condenses it into literally one single tab. So I'll show you again. I'm gonna click it. It's gonna condense them all except for the ones that I've pinned. Those stay because they're pinned. And then it has all of them here in this one tab. So I can still access these, but everything else is gone. It's just condensed into this little one tab here. And then if you wanted to restore them all, you can click Restore All, or you could click on one at a time. If I wanted to click on the bouncy ball tab, I could click on that and then be able to access just that one. If I wanted to restore all of them, I just click on Restore and they all come back. Now, notice how I clicked on one and opened up, and then I clicked on Restore All. They opened up in a new Chrome window, and that's okay. But, any other questions on that? Did that answer that question? Okay. All right. All right, we're going to go back into our presentation. Hopefully you were able to practice some of those things. And now we're going to learn some shortcuts. If you're like me and you're trying to work on something and you need to be a little bit more efficient and fast, shortcuts are a great way to do that. So knowing some shortcuts can be a big time saver for you and for your students. These are really great shortcuts to teach your kids too. And they're not too hard. So shortcuts, these are little keys that you can click on to do functions that we would normally do by like right clicking and then scrolling down and clicking on what we're wanting to do. So the first one is select all. Let's say you're working on something in Google Slides and you want to select everything that you've put on the page because maybe you need to copy it and paste it somewhere else. By clicking anywhere on the Google slide or anywhere on the Google document, and you click on Control and the A button, it will capture everything that you have done on that page. And then from there, you're able to either copy it if you want to copy it, paste it if you want to paste it. If you don't want any of it anymore, you can delete it all. But once you've captured it all, you're probably going to follow it up with another function. So Control A is a really great way to make sure you've got it all captured before you do the next thing. So copy and paste. This is a shortcut I use all the time. Copy is to hit the Control button plus the C button. It's going to literally copy exactly what you have there in the exact spot that you have it there. And then to paste it, you're going to do Control V. And that's going to paste it just like you copied it wherever you paste it. So if you're going from, like, in this case, if you'll notice that in the slide before, I had the same like shortcuts, little words at the top. And when I went to the next page, they're still there. So I could have copied it and pasted it onto a new page in the same exact spot so that it stayed consistent. It didn't change, it didn't move anywhere. Once I did it the way I wanted it the first time, I can copy and paste it and have a duplicate of it. Okay, resizing images. I'm sure we've all had this experience where you are working with a student, or maybe you're working, on something yourself, and they get an image from Google. So they've done like an image search, let's say it's like a dog, and they're working on a little project, and they want it bigger or they want it smaller. And so they start moving the sides out and they move the top up. And then the dog looks distorted. It looks too fat or too skinny and its dimensions are all off. Well, that's because they're not really keeping the dimensions of the image. So the best way to resize an image to keep all of the dimensions the same is to hold down your shift button and then to drag the corner of the image. So if I wanted to resize, let's say the image of the shift button, I would hold down the shift and I would go to the corner of that image and I would just drag it in and out. And that's going to cause it to keep the same dimensions all the way around on that image. It's not going to look stretched out or squished together. It's going to keep those dimensions the same. So that's a really great shortcut to teach your students, especially when they're working on little projects. And then to duplicate. Duplicate is when you want to make the same image over and over and over again. I use this duplicate shortcut when I'm making like a tangrams activity in Google Slides. I want them to have like 50 of the blue triangles to use. And so I would do Control+D and I would just go, several times, Control-D, 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 and I would make multiples of that picture or of that shape so that they would have access to multiple of them. So duplicate is a really great way to, once you have something that you love, it's the way you want it, you just click Control-D and you're able to make it an exact duplicate. How is that different from Control-V? So when you're doing Control-V, you're just pasting what you've already copied. So for instance, yes, it kind of does do some of the same thing, but this is just a really quick way, like just to do a bunch of them. Instead of doing Control-V, you could, but if I'm clicking on it on, let's say the word duplicate, and I wanted to make many of those, I can just click on it and then just do Control-D and then hold it down and it will just make a whole bunch of them. It's better than having to do copy and then paste, and it's only going to be on that page, so to speak. So when you're copying and pasting, I can copy something from one page and I can paste it somewhere else. But when I duplicate, I'm duplicating something on that page. Does that make sense? Did that answer that question? If I didn't, ask me again. Okay. All right, another great, oh, hold on, let me go back. Yes, okay, good. All right, another great way to kind of use some shortcuts. You'll notice that in a lot of my slides, I have things that are layered. So like the word short, the word cuts, the scissors, they're all layered on top of each other to give that effect of the scissors cutting through the word shortcuts. So by ordering and layering images, you can create different effects. You can bring things to the very front of the page. You can bring things to the very back of the page. This is where you get into multiple layers to create different effects for your students. For instance, like the word shortcuts. I created like a little effect to make it kind of look like the scissors were cutting through the words short and cuts. And to do that, you are using Control, Shift, and the upward button to bring whatever image you've selected to the very front of your page, to the very front. So it's like the very, it's like if I have my hand here, my sticky note, and then my other hand to bring it to the hand that's in the front. Okay, so that's bringing that all the way to the front. If I wanted to bring something forward, say it was in my background and I want to bring it forward to maybe the second layer, I would just do Control and the up button. So it brings it from maybe behind forward. Okay, brings it up a little bit from one layer to the next. You can go backwards the other way. You can, bring things to the back by doing the opposite. It's going to be Control, Shift, and the downward key. So that's going to bring things to the back, or it's, which means the very back of the bus of your page, or it's going to bring it backward. Maybe it's in the second layer. So for instance, we're talking about these layers. So the green word short, that's the back layer of my slide. The blue is the very front layer of this little image of my slide. And then my scissors, they're in the middle layer. They're between the green and the blue. So I've created those layers by using my Control Shift up and my Control Shift down to put those things in different layers. And we're going to practice that in a little bit, because I know that's really hard to visualize when you're like, I don't see that because I'm not doing it. So in a minute, we're going to practice it, because I think layering things is a really cool way and a really great way to create things for the students and to show your students how to create different effects. So we will practice that in a little bit.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Does this also work like sometimes when I'm creating a Google slide and I've got my words already on the slide, but I'm not happy with the background and I want to change the background?
Mm-hmm.
Once it clips it, it'll cover the words. And so then I would send it to the back.
Yes.
So then the words come up front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can do that. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Linking words and images. So this is something I use almost every day, if not, I mean, at least weekly, but if not every day. A lot of times I'm sending an email to parents and I'm like, I need you to click here to fill out this Google form. Or for students in their directions in Schoology, I'm like, I want you to go to this website, and I will write this website like really big, and I want to link it to the website. So the way that you do that is you just, if it's a word, you would just highlight that word and you would hit Control and the K button, and then it pops up like a little box for you to put a website, or you could search a website. We'll practice that too. You can do this with images too. So if I said, if they're doing like a breakout activity and I told them in the directions, I want you to click on the kangaroo to go to your next clue. They're going to go click on the kangaroo, and it's going to pop up maybe a YouTube video of kangaroos and why they have pouches and all that kind of thing. So using that for the students is really helpful, because a lot of times they don't read. They don't read all your directions. But if you make your words, linked, it makes them blue. You can bold them. It's really, it's in their face. It makes it to where they're like, oh, I think because that's blue, it's different than all the other colors. I need to click on that, and they'll click on it. Or the picture, I say all the pictures are linked to different things. They like to click and be taken somewhere after clicking. So it just kind of makes things interactive, but it also makes it stand out for our students and for our parents to be able, instead of having like that long URL in your email, you could just have the words, sign up sheet here, and then they can go and click on that sign up sheet. This is the big one. Every teacher has walked around their room while the students are quietly working, and all of a sudden you see little Johnny go, and he's like frantic. He's fumbling with his keyboard. He is exiting out of doing all sorts of things. Little Johnny was probably doing something he should not have been doing. Okay. He was maybe searching things about Roblox or whatever. He was doing something he should not have been doing. To go over and quickly reopen his closed tabs, you would hit Control, Shift, and the T button, and it will open up what he just exited out of. So he's trying to be real sneaky. He's trying to hide what he was working on. And you're smarter than that. You're going to click Control, Shift, and T, and it's going to pop up what he just closed. Now, say you're thinking, he was really fumbling over there. I'm going to do it again, and it's going to pop up the next one he closed, and the next. You can do it 5-10 times. It's going to pop up all 5-10 tabs that he closed. This is a really great way, and I do it really fast for my students so they don't know what I'm clicking on. So when I'm walking around and I see that they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, I just quickly go Control Tab T or Control Shift T, and it pops up, and they're like, wait, what? And I say, I always can see what you are doing. I always can see what you're doing. You can be far away from me on the other side of the room. Your computer, the back of your computer is facing me. I know what you're doing. And they're like, yeah. They magically know, okay, Miss New's not playing. She's not playing. If you accidentally close down tabs, you can do the same thing. Control Shift T, and it'll pop back up. So I never shared this one with my students. simply because I don't want them to out-sneak me. But you know, maybe you have like high school students that you can kind of trust to do that. I teach third graders, so I'm not going to teach them how to do that. If they accidentally X out, they know to come see me because they're like, Miss New knows a trick, and I just do it for them. But it's a really great way. I think this is the best shortcut I could ever teach anybody, because it helps you be kind of like that classroom ninja, quick on your toes, and get them back on track. Any questions real quick about some of our shortcuts? Because we're going to practice here in a second. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to show you one more thing that I think is a super cool hack. And then we're going to practice some of these things. This hack is called Mastering the Slide Master. So when you're creating a slide deck for your students, a lot of times I use the slide master because let's say I want them to work on something on my Promethean panel with 2 to 3 other students, okay? And I worked really hard on this content. I don't want them to mess it up. I don't want them to delete. I don't want them to alter my questions or my answer choices. I just want them to be able to click on a few things, but not necessarily the content, and change that. So I put things in the master slide. Now, I will warn you, when I created this, this class and I created my slides, it was still called the master slide. They have recently updated things in Google, thank you. And now it's called theme. So I'll show you how to get to it. Just know that it's still kind of the master slide, even though it's called the master theme or the theme. It does the same thing. The function has not changed, just the name. But this is for where you can make your content only available for you to edit, but your students can't touch it. They can't maneuver things. They can't accidentally delete or change your wording. They can only have access to the things that you want them to have access to. So let me show you how that works. You can change the default font. If you are like me and you don't really like that Arial font that is always the default, you can change it to be something that's more your style. I'm a little bit of a font snob and I like to use a lot of different fonts, and Arial is not one of them. So I like to change that in my master slides. You can create a master template for your slides in the presentation. For instance, the green border that's around all of my slides, and then the bottom ribbon that has my contact information. Y'all, I'm struggling. My contact information, that never changes on every slide. That is on every single slide in the same exact spot. And the reason it is because I've made a master slide that looks just like that. It just has the border and it just has the ribbon at the bottom. And then everything else I've added to it when I add a slide. So by creating that master, I don't have to continuously redo that border and redo that contact information. I don't have to copy and paste it. It's just there. If I wanted to add 100 more slides, it's going to be there on every single slide, which I love. You can create activities for students to work on as a group on the Promethean panel or in Schoology on their one-to-one devices, and they can do that without accidentally deleting your content. So let me show you what that kind of looks like and means. To get to it, you're going to click on the slide button at the top, and then you would scroll down to, it now says theme, even though when I did this, it said master. And then you would put whatever you want on that master slide, and it literally will copy that master slide to as many slides as you want it to, basically. And I'm going to show you how to do that in real time in a minute, but I do have this little video to show you guys, so when you go back, if you need a refresher, you can see how to access that. All right, so I wanted to show you an example of how this is used in my classroom. I'm going to actually stop sharing real quick, and I'm going to reshare because I don't think I clicked on the button so that you can hear my sound. Let's try this again. Okay, so I want you to hear my students. They're talking, they're engaged, but notice how, real quick, the stuff that's in the middle here, they can touch it, but they can't move anything. They can't access any of the pictures that I created on the middle of the Promethean board and on the middle of the slide. The only thing that they can touch are these colorful game pieces on the sides. Those are the only things that they can actually touch and move. Everything else is stuck there in the master slide. So let me show you how that works.
Represents which fraction on the number line.
It just sounds like you did the half.
This is so hard because there's two stuff. But
But
the multi one is easy. That's extra. Stop.
Yeah, but
We're doing another one.
so it asks for the hard, not the soft. So you just let it go. So like 1, 2. Those are 8 groups. So.
Wait, go look. But it says the part.
So what fraction of it is part?
1 8, 2 8, 3 8, 4 8, 5 8.
Okay. Okay, so that was probably, I think, the third day that we were talking about fractions and naming fractions. So they did a really good job on this. But only that, so that you could see that they were touching the number line there and counting it out as they were tapping on it. So if I had had that on the slide where they had access to it, they would have messed that up. They would have moved my little lines that made the different spaces. They would have, it just would have been a mess. And I worked really hard to make that number line literally equal on all parts. So I put that in the master slide so that they couldn't touch that, but they could touch all the colorful pieces around it. And that's what makes that activity so powerful in my classroom, because they're taking ownership of the Promethean panel. They're doing it. They feel super special because they're getting to touch it. They're talking with their, peers. But this type of activity works because of the magic of the master slide. It would not work if we didn't have the master slide. So I think it's a great tool to use even on the one-to-one activities that you're sharing with your students. It just makes it to where they can't edit or do anything that you've really worked hard to create. All right, we're gonna move on. All right, so we're gonna practice some of these skills. What I think you probably need is to have a new Google slide open, and you're gonna wanna split your screen. So one way that you can split your screen, okay. One way that you can split your screen, is there's a couple ways. You can click on the window icon and then your left and right buttons, or you can drag and snap it to one side. So you can click on anywhere where there's not a tab and you can drag it and you can snap it to the side. I like to do just the window and the left button, and it literally pops that all the way to the side. And then you can, access the other side with another Google Chrome window. So I would have another window open. So I'd put me off to the side so you can see what I'm doing, but then have your Chrome window open with a new slide ready to go. I'm going to go back to full screen just so you can really see what I'm doing. Are there any questions about how to make your screen dual? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to get a new slide here. If you didn't already know, if you go into your URL bar and you just start typing in slide, it's slide.new, but as you do it multiple times, your Chrome will automatically know that you're looking for a new slide. So I just hit SL and it already knew she wants a new slide. And then you can just hit enter and you have a brand new slide deck ready to go. So slide.new in your URL and it will open up a new one. All right, I'm gonna click out of these themes over here. I'm just going to do this real quick so I know I have it. Okay, I'm just going to name it really quickly. All right, so we have this empty slide. Again, here's that Arial font. It's very boring. So let me show you how you can access that master slide. We can change some things. We're going to practice duplicating. We're going to practice all those things that we talked about in our shortcuts. But let's go to our master slide first, because this Arial font is just, it's not my style. It may not be your style. If it is your style, that's okay too. But you're going to come up to slide right up at the top, and you're going to come down and it says edit theme. And notice how it says updated, because originally it said master. So it's now edit theme, and you're going to click on that. And you'll know that you're in that master or that theme because it gives you like the gray all the way around it. Okay. Now, from here, you can do whatever you'd like. You have this master slide, this top one right here. This is like, if I put something in this slide, it's going to change it for all of these slides. It's going to make it the same for all these slides. These down here are called layouts. So these you can change. You can make several different layouts. In my presentation, I have several different layouts, and I'm going to go back over here real quickly to show you the difference. So in my slide, if I go to my theme, you're going to notice that my theme, my master up here, has just the border and it has my contact information at the bottom. So every time I add a slide, it's going to show up with a green border and my email, my YouTube, my Twitter at the bottom. Okay, every single time I add a slide, my deck. However, I have different themes that I can choose from, or different layouts, I should say. I have different layouts I can choose from. I have a layout that I created just for my opening page, and for I have this at the end of my presentation too. I have a layout for the shortcuts because I had several pages that used the same picture here that I created. I wanted to have that in the theme, so I didn't have to keep changing it. I could just get another layout of the same layout and then put what I wanted on top of it. I have lots of pages that talk about the master slide. So I did a mastering the slide, edit the master. So all of these are different themes that I can choose from as I'm working, and you can't move it on the main slide. So when you're looking at the slides, if I share them with you, you can't access those. All right. So that's just showing you that you have a main theme that will be on every single slide, no matter what. And then you have these different layouts that you can choose from, and you can make as many layouts as you want. Okay. So I'm going to go back over to our workspace. And if I want all of the slides and the whole deck to have something on it, the same thing, I would come up to this theme slide up here, and you can click anywhere on here. You can hit Control A to select it all. So I've clicked Control A and it just captures everything. If I wanted to delete this, I could totally delete this and start with just a blank canvas, which is probably what I would do. So I could delete that. It would make it everything blank. If I didn't want to do that, let's say I like this layout and I just want to have a title, but I don't want this, you can delete this too. You can capture all this by, this is called rubber, I call this rubber banding. Let me show you this. So I just click somewhere and I drag over all of this, and it captures just what I dragged my cursor over. And then if I want to delete this, I can delete it and it will go away. So now I just have this part right here. I can change this font. See, it says Arial. I can change it to something else. I like Ranchers. So I can change that. And notice how all these layouts on the side here underneath, they all now have Ranchers as their font. So like this one, it's in Ranchers. It's not in, this is in Arial right here. But all of the main titles on every single layout is Ranchers because I've changed the main font or the theme of the whole slide deck. Okay. So this allows you to change your font if you wanted to keep it kind of like this type of format where you have a title and then you have your body at the bottom. You know, you can do that. And then when you go into any of your slides, it'll automatically be in Ranchers. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to click right here. It's in Ranchers. And so I might write Kelly New, and it's going to automatically be in Ranchers because I've changed my default font of my titles to be Ranchers. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. All right. And so if I add a new slide, it's going to have the same thing. Okay. It will have that Ranchers here for me to change if I wanted to change it. But let's go back into that slide and let me show you how, well, okay, yeah, we can do that. Let's show you how we can do different themes. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to do this and I'm just going to show you how this works, how to get to your different themes. I'm just going to put, or different layouts, I should say. I'm going to type in, maybe it'll do what I want it to do. Hold on one second. Why is it not letting me type? Literally not typing. What's going on? Oh, technical issues. I don't know what's going on. It's not letting me type for some reason. We'll go right here and type. We'll say, really? Guys, I am so sorry. I don't know what is going on with my computer, but it is not, it's not even letting me delete now. That's interesting. Yours won't do it either. That's so weird. It might be a Google issue. Last time I did this course, we had a Zoom issue, and now we're having a Google issue. Yeah, so some of you are saying it's not letting you do it. That is so strange. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Let's do this. We're going to go back in here. All right. Let's get some pictures. Okay. We're going to work with some pictures. I think this will work. So let's insert some pictures. Let's go to insert. We're going to go to image and let's go to search the web. And I'm just going to do a search for dogs. Super simple. That's a cute one. We're going to add that.
I was able to, while I was in the Google Master, delete what was on one of the layouts and then add a text box and I could type. But that might be extra steps.
Yeah, it should let you type in there. Like, it's always let me type in there. So I don't know, but you're right. You can add a text box in there and do that. That's perfect.
Okay.
But yeah, it always has let me type in there if I wanted to type in there. So it's being a little crazy. Okay, so I went over here and I went to insert and I added, I went to image and then I went to search the web and I just typed in dog and I double clicked it. So here I have a dog image. We're going to practice a couple things. I am going to put this in one of our layouts to show you how this works. So we have our dog. I don't like how big it is. If you click on it, let's practice resizing it. You're going to hold down your control button and you're going to go to your corner and you're just going to drag and it's going to resize it. It kept the dog in the same dimensions. It's not squished. It's not stretched out. It just keeps all of that image the same dimensions. It just shrinks it or makes it larger. So that control and the corner helps you to resize those things. All right. Now I am going to take this image and I am going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to do Control C. It's already selected, so I can Control copy it. And I am going to come back in here to this slide. I'm going to go to those themes and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to do Control V to paste it. Okay, so now I've got my dog here, and I'm going to come back over to my slides. Now I can add another slide, and there's the dog. Now let's say, oh, but I don't need another one of the dog. I want a different layout. Okay, I maybe want one with a cat on it or whatever, if I've made one with a cat. So that's super simple, because you're probably thinking, but I don't want the same one over and over again. You can click on it with a right click. And if you go to apply layout, it shows you all the layouts that you created. So if I wanted to go to just a title and body, I can click on that, and it's going to give that to me. So this one right here, because we made a layout of it, this picture right here, I cannot click on the dog. The dog does not move because it's in that theme or that master slide. So I can't click on it. I can't move it. It's basically like stuck in the background. Okay. Now, if I wanted to change it and move it around, I can go into the theme or the master, and I can change it and move it around, but it's always going to be stuck there. My students can't access it. They can't move it. They can't do anything to it. Okay. If I wanted to say I wanted another one of that dog, I can still go right click, and I can go to that apply layout, and I can go back to the dog. And I have another one that they can't access. They can't move it. So this is just another way to show that, you know, how to get those different layouts that you create, because you don't have to have just the same thing on every slide. You can do different things on every slide, and still be able to have only the ability for you to access it and not your students. Is that helpful? Okay. All right, so let's practice some other things. I want to practice some layering. And so I'm going to get a couple of different things out. I'm going to insert. You can either go here to insert a shape, or I like to usually just go right here. This is your shape button. If you click on this, you can access any shapes. These are like your normal shapes. You've got arrows, call outs, you can even make an equation. I just want a simple rectangle. So I'm going to click on the rectangle, and then I just click and I drag it. And then I'm going to color it. And this is going to be helpful to see those different layers. So I'm going to color it whatever color, it doesn't matter what color it is. I'm going to color it blue. And from here, you can change your colors. You can change your border if you want to change your border. This is your border color. I usually do like a black border. This right here is the border weight if you want it to be thick or thin. And then these are different types of borders. So if you wanted it to be a solid border, or if you wanted it to have like dashes, or, you know, you can get fancy with that, but you can do whatever you want with your border. I typically just have a solid line. But then, you know, there's my shape. So now I need some other things to kind of layer. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go into insert. I am going to get another image. I think it's super easy to see it this way. Again, I'm going to go search the web. Let's get our dog again. And then I'm going to also get a cat, just because it makes it easy to see. It's creating its image. Okay. Just wait patiently. Come on. There we go. All right, we're going to insert another one. Even let me get one from the web now. Really? Oh, Google. Okay, here we go. Let's get one of the cats. You can do it. You don't have to do dogs and cats, but I think this is an easy way to see how to layer things. Okay, so we've got a blue rectangle, we have a dog, and we have a cat. And right now, if I move these over, you can see that the dog and the cat are on top of the blue rectangle. So they're in the front. They're at the very front of my slide, and my blue rectangle is like in the back, okay? But I want to practice layering things. So I have my dog selected right now. If I go to my shift and my control and then my up and down arrows, I can move that dog either, you know, it's already in the front, but I can move it to the back, And so now it's behind the blue here. It's still, I can still access it, but it's behind the blue. So we've got our blue, our dog, we have the blue, and then the cat is sitting right here on top. So this is how you layer and create those different layers of your images, or if you're doing like a word art, which is how I make all of my titles on my slides. It's just maneuvering and moving them either forwards or backwards. So I have the cat now highlighted. If I want to move it back, again, I can do the same thing. Shift, Control, and down, and it moves it backwards. Now you can still see that blue outline there to show that it's still selected. It's still there. It's just in the back. I can bring it forward with Control, Shift, and the upward button, and I brought it back. So now it's back up at the front. Okay. Now I'm showing you this like this so you can see these different layers. I'm going to bring the dog forward a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to do my Shift and my, my Shift, Control, and up, and now it's at the very front. If I do Shift, or if I do, sorry, just Control and down, it's now between the cat and the blue. So practicing with layers with this is a really easy way to kind of visually see it, because I know it's hard to visually see it when I'm explaining it, just using words. This is a great tool for your students when they're creating like a background and then they're putting things in and they're like, I have a picture there, but I can't find it. And I always tell them it's there. It's in the background. Like it's just covered up. You just can't see it. So let's move some things around so you can see it. But that's just using that Shift, that Control, and the up and down button to bring things forwards and backwards. Are there any questions about moving those things forward and back? I need to show it again. Let's see, I have something in the chat. Okay, this says on slide 3, how did you get rid of the original dog? Can't remember. I just deleted it. I just went up and selected it and deleted it. But it's still there. Like if I go into my slide theme, he's still there. There's the dog. If I needed to go back and get him again, I can select him and I can copy him and I can paste him somewhere else if I need to. So whatever you have in your master themes, they're still there. You can still access them. That's a good question. Any other questions? Let's see another chat. How did you add the border to your theme slide? What tool did you use? Okay, that's a good question. So I used a shape, honestly. What I did was I just went in and I grabbed a shape like a rectangle, and I just did it over all of this, like this, and just kind of judged where I needed it to be. And then it comes in gray, and I'm going to fix it in a minute, but you can use these crosshairs to make it even. So now I know it's directly in the middle. And then what I did was I went into my fill color and I made it transparent. And so now you can see through it. And then I just did my border. So I just made like a green border. I made the weight of it. And then I just changed, these little things. I sometimes will layer, I'll make different kinds of borders. And so I will, maybe do 2 big rectangles and kind of make one smaller than the other one. So it makes an effect of like a double border. You can do that as well. And then I just took that, I just copied it. So Control copy. And I went into my themes. And I just put it here in my main theme. And so now it will be on all of them. So when I go back in here, on this one, I can literally take the one that was on there and I can delete it. And there it is. And it can't move now. It's just a permanent fixture in the background. So that's an easy way to make borders. Just do a shape and then make the inside of it transparent and make your border the color. And then you've got a border. That's a good question. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, I answered that one. All right, let's start duplicating things. So I duplicate things when I need to make like a deck of cards. This is like if I use the example of tangrams. I have a tangram activity that my students do on the Promethean panel. And so they need to have access to lots of the same shape. And, and I don't want to have to copy and paste them. I want to make them into like a deck of cards. So we're going to make a deck of cat cards. I'm going to select my cat and I'm going to hit my Control and the D button for duplicate. I'm just going to do it several times. All right, so there are all my duplicates of my cat. Now you're thinking that doesn't look like a deck of cards because it's not stacked. So let's learn how to stack them. Now, none of them are selected. So we're going to come up here, just kind of off to the side, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag over them and use that little rubber band technique. And so now all of them are selected. I'll do that again. So I'm going to start up at the top somewhere off to the side, and I'm going to click and drag over all of them, and they're all selected. And then you can right click and you're going to align them. So you're going to align them vertically to the top, and they all jump up to the top. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to right click and I'm going to align horizontally to the center. And now they are all stuck together, stacked on top of each other, so I can deal out these cards as I want to. So let me show you that again. I'm going to undo all this. Okay, so I've got all my cat cards. I'm going to rubber band them together. We're going to go to right click. We're going to align vertically to the top. And then right click, align horizontally to the center. And now they are all stuck together as one. And then if I don't like where they are and I want to move them, I can just rubber band them all together and then move the whole thing. And they stay together. Pretty cool trick. Love doing this if I'm creating different activities where I'm like, oh, I'm going to need a text box here and text box here, text box here. I can literally just do it real fast and then boom, 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 put them where I need to put them. Any questions on that? Okay, let's see. Let's link some things. So we're going to link our dog. I'm going to highlight my dog. I'm just going to click on him. And then our shortcut is Control K. Now, from here, if you have a website you want them to go to, you can paste that website in here. You can link it to a slide in your slide deck. I've done this for an activity where they had all these pictures on one main slide, and they would click on the picture and it would take them to another slide that had some questions on it, and they would have to answer the question and then click on the home button on that slide and it would take them back to the main page. This is like if you've seen those games like teachers make Jeopardy games and things like that. This is what they're doing. They are linking words and pictures to different slides in the deck. And so it just takes them to a different slide and then back home. All right. So that's a really great way to make an interactive activity. But for this purpose, let's say I want them to go to a website. Maybe they're doing some research on different dog breeds and they need to know like their temperament, you know, how to care for them, how big they get, things like that. So I want them to go to maybe like the AKC website. You can even search AKC and it's going to say, oh, you want the American Kennel Club? Sure, that's where we want to go. So I'm going to click on that. And now that link is attached to that picture. So when my kids go click on it, it's going to pop up and take them to the American Kennel Club. And so that way they can do their research. If they want to research on beagles or Labradors or whatever they're going to research, it's there for them to do. So super simple way to link that page or that image is just Control K and then put in your URL. I do this a lot for the parents too when I'm sending an email and I literally am saying, I want you to click on this. I need you to fill out this form. So click here, this form right here, and really big, bold, you know, letters. And then they just click on it. It makes it super easy for the parent. They don't have a long URL that they have to kind of look at. So it just makes it very nice looking. It doesn't look cluttered and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right, any other questions about that? Anything else you want me to go over again? Or if you have a question, you're like, I wonder if she knows how to do that, ask away, because we're gonna move on to some cool little websites and how to share things and things like that. Okay, let's see, we have a chat. Which slide do we share with the students? Good question. So if you are making a whole slide deck, you can share the whole thing with them. You can't just share just one slide. I mean, unless you only created one slide. Maybe you just created one slide and you want to share that. And we're going to talk about how to share it here in just a second. All right, I'm going to show you that. Any other questions about like formatting or anything like that before we move on? Rubber band the images together. Do you want me to show you that again? Like in the like to make a card. Okay, we're gonna, yeah, we can do that. All right, so I'm gonna move these out again. All right, I'm gonna actually move this over because it's gonna get caught up in my rubber band. Okay, so I've got these images together, or not together, but I want them together, or I want to select only those images instead of all the images on my slide. I'm gonna click somewhere off to the side. Now you got to be careful because I have these other things on here. I moved them for this purpose, because if you get too close and you rubber band, it'll capture everything. And I don't want my dog and I don't want my blue rectangle. I just want my cats. So I'm going to click over to the side and I'm going to just drag over those cat images and it selects them all together. Now it didn't select the dog or the rectangle, just the things that I dragged over. And then if I want to make them into that deck of cards, I can right click and go to align. Now they're kind of all over the place, but I can do align to the top, line vertically to the top, I should say. And they're all aligned vertically. And then I can right click again and align horizontally and go to the center, and it's going to put them all back into the center. And so now you've got that deck of cards that you can deal out. You're welcome. Okay, any other questions?
I have a question. How can you make your slide transparent? Which button I need to push or get that option, the transparent option?
Sure. Okay, so we've got our blue rectangle here that I've selected. If you go to your fill color, which is the paint can that looks like it's dripping, and it's down here at the bottom, it says transparent.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You can even make your borders transparent if you want to do that. That's over here. You just click on your image and you just go to your border. Instead of picking a color, you can do transparent here. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how to get custom colors that are not, that are easy. Like if you see a color online and you're like, I love that color, I want that color, but I don't know how to get it. I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. All right. Any other questions before we move on how to share what you've just created with your parents and your students? An easy way so that you're giving them access to the things that you want them to have access to, and you're giving them not access to things, I should say. All right, I'm going to go back into my presentation. And let's see, where are we? Okay, here we go. All right, so sharing is caring. The question was, how do I share this with them? How do I let them have access to it? Again, you've created something, you worked hard on it, you don't want them to change it, you don't want them to, mess it up. So there are two ways that you can share things with your students and your parents to give them limited access to what you've created, or to give them access to something to make it their own. Okay, maybe you've made the template, but now you want them to go in and do something with it, but you don't want them to maybe mess up your template. So you can share your content with students and parents or colleagues two different ways. You can force them to make a copy of it, or you can force them to view it in presentation mode. And this is going to protect your work, okay? So forcing a copy is literally sending them a link, and then it forces them to make a copy of that whole document on their drive. And so then from there, they can change it. They can change the background. They can do all those things. This is really like, if I want to share a resource with you guys, I don't want you to mess up my original because it's the way I like it, but you're like, but I don't like blue and green. I want to do purple and pink. You can change that. I would give you access to make it your own, but I want to protect my original copy. Okay, so it's kind of like making sure that you put it through a copy machine and then you're giving them the copy, you have the original. So that's forced copy. And then forced present is like how I'm going to share my slides with you in Schoology. I'm forcing you to view it in present mode. You still have access to links, but you're going to see it in present mode. And so it's really easy to do that. So to force a copy, you're going to go up to, you know what, I'm just going to show it to you. You've got the video to show you if you need to go back, but let me just show you how to do it live. So I've got this presentation and I want to force you to make a copy of it. You have this URL at the top. It's a very long URL. You're going to click on it and now it's all blue. You're going to click on it again so that it's not all highlighted. And you're just going to take your arrow button and you're just going to go all the way to the end. Now, from the end, you've got the words edit, hashtag slide, equals ID, yada, yada, yada. All of this information here is something that you can change. It's in edit mode for me, but I don't want it in edit mode for you. I want you to make your own copy of it. So I'm going to go right where the word edit is, and I'm going to highlight the rest of that URL. The part of the URL before that has to remain the same. Okay, but this edit all the way to the back, it can be changed. And we're going to change it to the word copy. I'm just going to type in COPY. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then it's going to pop up this page that says copy document. And from here, this is the URL I'm going to share with you. I would select this, make sure it's all blue, and I would copy and paste this URL into Schoology, or in an email to parents, or somewhere for teachers to access or whatever. And it's going to literally, when they click on that URL, it's going to give them the same screen with the blue button that says make a copy. And then they would just click on it. It's going to make a copy of the whole presentation and they would be able to edit that part. It protects my original copy from being edited or changed in any way. Okay, so I'll show you that again really quickly. I'm just going to go back because I'm the owner of it. I can go backwards by just hitting the back button, and now I'm in edit mode again. So you're going to go up to your URL. You're going to click on it and twice so that it's not all highlighted blue. You're going to make sure at the very end, and you're going to highlight the word edit all the way through the end. Oops, I had to let somebody in. Hold on a second. Let me try that again. You're going to highlight all the way to the end. So here we go. Edit all the way to the end. And you're going to change all of that verbiage to the word copy, COPY, and hit enter. And then I will use this URL to send to my parents and my teachers and my students. You can put it in Schoology, put it in email, wherever you want to put it, and it's going to force them to make a copy. They would click on that URL, they click on the blue button, and then they have it in their Google Drive. They can make it their own, they can change the title, all that stuff. And in fact, when they do click on it, it'll say copy of, and then the title of the document. Any questions on that? Okay. Let me show you the next way. This is how you force parents or students to view your slide in present mode. It's literally the same thing. You're just going to change one. You're just going to use a different word. I use this like if I do like a welcome slide deck for parents. It has all of our procedures and how to get to my classroom and a video about me and all that kind of stuff. I don't want them to see it in edit mode. I want them to view it as a presentation to get that full experience. So I would do the same thing. I'm going to go up to my URL. I'm going to double click it so that it's not highlighted blue. I'm going to go all the way to the end, and where it says edit, I'm just going to highlight all of that. And this time I'm going to use the word present. Present, and hit enter. And it will automatically be in present mode. And I can take this URL here and share that in Schoology or in an email or wherever I want to share it. And that way they're going to be able to go through that slide presentation. They can still click on links that I've linked, pictures, words, whatever, and it will open it up in a new tab in the same browser. So super easy way to share that with parents. It looks very professional because it's like, oh, it's like a movie. It just kind of opens up and it's ready to go. Any questions on that? All right, and then to get back, because you're the owner of it, you can just hit the back button and it will go back into your edit mode. Now, even though I have gone back to edit mode, if I've already shared that link to be forced as a copy or to be forced as a presentation, it's not going to change that. It's going to stay the same because they have that link. If I send out that presentation as like a forced presentation or as a forced copy, and I was like, oh no, I need to edit something, okay? And you're like, that video is not working. I need to go back and fix it, redo that video. You can change it in your edit mode and say like in the present mode, it's going to make that change automatically because it's a live document. So for instance, I had put all of my slides up in Schoology, and then the EdTech team was like, hey, I just want to let you know, one of your GIFs isn't working right. All the other ones work, but this one's not working right. So I said, oh, okay. I just went back and I redid it and fixed it on my end. Well, it's already fixed on the forced presentation mode because it's a live document. I didn't have to go in and redo it or anything like that. It just automatically fixed itself. Okay, any questions on that? All right, great. Okay, so let's talk about some extensions that I use, some websites that are super helpful. These are just things that I use all the time. Extensions kind of make our teacher life a little bit easier, like that one tab I shared with you. These are just things that I find are helpful. They are, I guess, they're okay for Sci-Fair. There were a couple that I included and they were like, you can't share that one. That one has not been approved by Sci-Fair. And it still worked on my computer. It still works. I still use it, but they were like, you just can't share it because we haven't gotten full okay to use that for everybody. So I'm going to share some of my favorites that are okay with the district. So one tab, I talked about that one. I do have the link here for you again. For the cute cursor, I'm going to show you that. My cute cursor, I am going to show you that. It's called, oh no, I've just blanked. Custom cursor, called custom cursor. I have a link for it. So when you click on the links that I've shared here, you click on it and it's just going to ask you, do you want to add it to Chrome? And you just click OK, and it just does it. It just automatically adds it to your Chrome and you don't have to do anything else. Oh, you're welcome. All right, so we talked about the one tab, super helpful, keeps you organized, makes it look like you're a little less crazy with all the tabs on the top. Love that extension. Color Pick Eyedropper. This is probably my favorite, one of my favorites. I create a lot of things from scratch and I like to keep things compliant with, like for instance, Google. I'm doing this with the title Google, so I wanted to make sure that everything I use was part of the Google brand. I wanted to use their exact colors. And I did that intentionally just so you had that visual of, oh, we're talking about a Google workspace thing here. And so to do that, I used the color pick eyedropper extension, and it allows you to use these like little crosshairs, and you can hover over a color anywhere on the internet in a picture, and it will give you the exact color code. So all colors have a code. And when you're going in and you're trying to go to like the color wheel, it's really hard to really get the right color. You're like, oh, it's a little pink, it's a little purple, but it doesn't quite match. You just can't get the right tone and warmth of it. This does it for you. It literally gives you the code that you can copy and paste into your word art to change the words, the color of the words. And so that's what I did here in this animation. I had it pink, and I wanted to make it the Google yellow. And so I just went over to the Google logo that I took from Google and got that color, and then copy and pasted it into the word extensions as my fill color. And then it's just a custom color. So then when I went in and I did other words that were that same color, it saves it for me in that presentation. So all I had to do was just click on the color that I had already scanned. So super cool color pick eyedropper extension. Highly recommend it. I do share that with my students too, because they think it's fun to make it their own, to give it sort of that flair that they like. If I were doing a presentation, if you are going to join me for my my Future Ready activities, it's a very different color scheme, and that's more of my brand, my personal brand. And so I like to keep things very on brand for me. But this one was a Google, so I wanted to go with the Google brand. All right, colors LOL. If you want to see how colors look together, if you're creating a new color scheme, this is a great website that shows you how cool and warm colors go together. And it also gives you that color code that you can copy and paste into your fill color. So you'll notice all these different color schemes. It has the 3 colors, their name and their color code. I copy that color and then I can paste it somewhere else. So super, super helpful. There's lots of different colors there. I easily get lost on this site because I like to just look at the different colors and play with them. So that's not really an extension, it's just a website, but it's a really helpful one when you're creating something. We talked about Emojipedia. It's not an extension, it's just a website, emojipedia.org. This is also another one that I share with my students. Sometimes I may want them to create like a word problem using emojis. And so they can create a word problem like, say, the light bulb is worth 5 and the firecracker is worth 2. And they're creating word or number problems with emojis. And so if you've ever used Mashup Math, where those are like, they're math puzzles, that's what they're doing. They're creating their own math puzzles using emojis, and they assign different values to those emojis. So you can even do that with language arts and have them write a story using emojis, titling their title using emojis and having them each other guess what the title is or what the character is based on the emojis. Super fun way to make them super engaged. And then here's that custom cursor extension. You just add it to Chrome. There's thousands of different themes and colors, and you can make them different sizes. Mine's small, but you can make it super, super big if you want. I used a custom cursor all year, especially with my Zoomies, because sometimes, especially at the beginning of the year, showing them where to click, it was really hard for them to see. So I would always have like a different cursor. I would change it up weekly sometimes, and I'd say, okay, we're looking for the dog. Where's the dog? Or we're looking for the watermelon. And do you see where the watermelon is pointing? I want you to click on that. And it just made it super easy for them to see. But it was also fun, and they like to change theirs too. So custom cursor extension is a great way to kind of add some fun to your screen, but it also is very helpful when you're showing people where to click and where to go and you're demoing things. Flat Icon is a premium library of icons that you can search. Hold on one second, I have a question. Yours is not staying when the extension is closed. Okay, at the end, I can help with that, okay? We'll see if we can troubleshoot that. Flat icon is a freemium. I say it's freemium because it's free to an extent. Some of the images that you search, if they have a crown on them underneath, they are a premium. You have to pay for it. So I always use the free ones. But what I love about Flat Icon is that you can download it as a PNG, and that's an image that doesn't have a white background. So a lot of times when you get an image from, like, let's say Google, and you put it into your slide, it has like this white background around it. And so when you're trying to like line that image up with like words around it, it's like you can't get the word, you can't get it where you want it because it cuts off the words. And so it makes it very difficult to use. But this makes it to where the background is completely transparent. So for instance, like this one right here, all the things that are white is transparent. If I were to change my background to pink, it would be black on pink. You would see pink through the black lines of this little computer. So it just makes everything transparent. It just gives like the outline of all the parts of the image. And so you can layer it on top of colors. You can layer it on top of words. They're really great images. They're very crystal clear. They download to your computer so that you can access them all the time. The only thing is that you do need to say that you've used them. So you have to attribute the artist, and that's what that little box is right there. It says, hey, remember to attribute the artist. And so you just click on it, and then somewhere in your slide you need to say something like images were created with Flat Icon. That way you don't get the copyright police on your tail. And I'm verbally saying it here to you, I'm using Flat Icon for a lot of my images, and I did use the free ones. I did not use any of the premiums. All right, we are towards the end and we're really good on time because we have to do our attendance. So let's recap. Before we got started, I asked you to think of some concepts that you will be teaching and how, when you were creating things in the past, it might not have turned out the way that you had wanted. It wasn't quite your vision, and how you kind of wish you had some tools to kind of, help along with that. So I hope today you were able to get some little tricks, some little hacks, tools that, help, that will, make life a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more organized in your digital workspace. I would love to hear those things. Like if you're like, okay, I know I can use this, for X, Y, and Z. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Because it makes me happy when, someone walks away with something that they can use. I always am looking for something I can use when I go to different trainings. So let's do attendance. I'm going to go out of this, and I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. And I'm going to go into Schoology really quickly so that I can give you guys access to our attendance. So like I said at the beginning, attendance is required so that you can get credit for this. I will be cross-referencing your name with the people who were signed up. So I just published the attendance. You might want to go back into Schoology and refresh that. It is a Google form. It's super, super quick. Also, I'm publishing the feedback form. It's a totally different form, and that one is anonymous. So that one's not going to ask for your email or for your name. I do ask that when you are in Schoology and that feedback discussion that you just kind of type in done, so I know that you've done it. I do love y'all's feedback. EdTech loves y'all's feedback. We really want to know how we can make things better, how we can, help you guys out. While y'all are doing that, I am going to put in the chat, because you will need the number. You'll need the course number for the feedback. So I'm going to type that in really quickly. This is the course number. It's 39358. And so you'll need that for the feedback form. And then I had a question, is there an easy way to add voiceover to a slide presentation in Google? I have not used that, but you can. I mean, I don't typically, if I'm going to use my voice, I typically like to have my face too. And so what I usually use is Screencastify, and I will do a quick video that way, and then I will embed it into the Google slide. And I think just at least having my face there is a little bit better. There are other ways that you can do that. There are websites that allow you to record your voice and then use a QR code. So the students hold up the QR code and it just plays your voice. I'm drawing a blank at the moment for that website, but if you email me, I'll find it for you and I'll email it to you. But that's an easy way. Like if you wanted to do directions around your room, you can record your voice doing the directions, give the QR code, and they can hold their device up, scan it, and then it will play back. So that's another way to do it. All right, are there any other questions for me? Want me to go back over anything? All right. So while y'all are doing that, I just want to thank you guys for joining me today. I know 9 a.m. when you're on summer break, it's kind of hard. But I really do appreciate it. I enjoy learning with you guys. If you have great ideas that you want to share with me, please share them because I learned something from you guys too. If you have questions, you can always email me, ask a question. I'm happy to email back. If you want to ask questions about blended learning or whatever, you can do that too. I am going to really quickly, I'll share my screen again, just because I have my contact information here. Let's see. And I'll put that up. So you can follow me if you want to follow me. I'm on Twitter. There's my email down there. I am on YouTube as well. I do a little like, they're called teacher bites. And I do quick like 5-minute videos on how to do something in Google and Schoology. I haven't done one in a while, so I need to do another one. But I just do really quick little videos, little snippets so that you can, you know, gain a new tool, a new skill that are super easy in a small, manageable little bite of time. So you can check that out. And I promise I'll try to get some new ones on there soon. All right, are there any other questions?
Kelly, are you going to share your slides with us?
Yes, I'm going to go back in a second and share my slides. They are in Schoology. I just had to hit publish.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, Kelly, when we're submitting the attendance, it doesn't have any place to put the section number like other courses?
No, the attendance, I don't need you to put the section number. It's just the feedback form.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. The attendance is just going to me, but the feedback form goes to the EdTech team. So that's why they need to have that section number. Does anybody need that section number again? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you guys so much again for being here with me. You don't have to get off. I'm just going to stop recording here in a second. But I just want to say thank you again. I really appreciate you guys staying here with me and learning. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm available because it is summer vacation. If it takes me a few days to get to you, I apologize in advance. But don't hesitate to ask a question. I'm more than happy to answer it. And if I don't know the answer, I will try my best to find the answer to that. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your summer. And if you want to hang on while you're still doing the attendance and the feedback form, you can. If you've done both of them, you're free to go. And if you have questions that you want to ask after people kind of trickle off, you can ask those as well. So I'm just going to stop recording.